Juniors, soon to be seniors, and as my last little treat, and also at the risk of scaring some of you, here's a photo of Mr. Bueno when I was a senior in high school. All right, now that you're thoroughly disturbed, let's do a review for your Quiz 03. Hope you guys do really well on this. I have also provided print review, but I'll try to throw a little bit extras in here on the audio. So let's start out by talking about one's sexuality. Whether it's chosen or not, um, are we still able to make subjective judgments based on the expression of that? And concerning sexuality too, what about shame? What is it? What exactly does shame hide? Understand the distinctions between those concepts of so-called homosexuality in ancient Greece, Rome, the Israelites, and also early Christianity. So remember, in ancient Greece, there was no real parallel, but it was a form of pederasty, ephemic love, and it had to be between a consensual agreement between an adult male and a child, a paius, and there was a pedagogical element to it. Okay, so there was almost like a spiritual and intellectual guidance. I think I gave the example. It's kind of difference, not a difference, but combination of a nanny and a tutor in that area. So anyway, also know that in Rome, if you recall, that if a person was a slave, they did not have rights. So it really was up to the master as to how their form of sexual expression took place. And also for anybody who did practice prostitution, male or female, that they did have their civil rights limited. Ancient Israel, if you remember, had the most rigorous opposition to homosexuality, and specifically the Christians, at least by the 438 A.D., there was a ban on all passive homosexuality. So you could see the early Christian influence on Rome there. And female homosexuality was virtually unheard of in the ancient world. Okay. Let me see. Homosexuality as a word. Remember the etymology of it when it originated, late 19th century, late 1800s. And also, that was way after Scripture was coined, so you're not going to find the word homosexual in Scripture. They're going to talk about it in terms of idol worship. Or I think the other words were Malachi was light or refined, something like that. And it was in both instances of Scripture that I gave you from St. Paul, it was just one amongst a list. So it was not singled out. It was not treated as the worst of sins. But yet it was still a serious sin. Not the orientation, but the action, and in line with the other ones. I won't try to list them now. It's not important. They're not going to show up individually on your quiz. Let's see. So why did sacred Scripture then condemn it? Let me see if I remember. It was from one, that it was unnatural, and honest to goodness, right now, as terrible as that is, I don't remember. Go to the Scriptures. You'll find them there. Among the other gender variances in culture, I gave you a few examples, right? And we said that there are some examples that had existed throughout cultures and throughout time, but they oftentimes lined up with various roles or duties within the society, and they don't directly parallel what we'd understand as homosexual orientation and activity today. Truth separated from love is nothing more than a sentiment. Even if it feels very genuine, even if it feels very real, that doesn't mean we can authenticate it. Know what epigenetics is, just briefly. If you notice the definition somewhere, would you be able to pick it out and say, yeah, that's what it is? Remember, there's no change in the DNA sequence. All right? And the logos, the nomos, and the telos. Remember, the nomos is that governing nature or law written on our hearts. And the logos is that self-giving that leads us towards our perfection. Let's see, the United States Conference of Catholic Bishops. They said the beginning of dialogue with those in the church and those who accept homosexual activities. If you recall, there were two things. This is all from memory here, so let's see how good Bueno's doing. First of all, those in the church must do their best to teach and explain what it is that the church teaches and understands about the homosexual person. So there's not, we just remove or dispel misunderstandings, and they also should listen very closely to those who have those experiences so that they can better pastorally minister to them. All right. So the sign of respect then between the two is if you are willing to engage the other in a conversation and you understand that they are capable of that. That is respect. What did John Paul II state concerning science and theology? Well, remember, one purifies the other, and one keeps the other from turning into a false idol. The distinctions between sex, gender, and sexuality. Oh, my lips are working good. Sex is male and female. Gender is masculine and feminine. And sexuality is the inclination, orientation of those desires. Know what deconstructionism is. I won't give that one to you, but you should have that in your notes. It's a pretty short one. Just know, what did it reorient it? In other words, it switched the hierarchy of two things. When we talk about a person referring to themselves primarily in terms of their sexuality, remember that's a reductionist view, and we must not separate our private from our public life. That is a compartmentalization of the human person, and it's not very healthy. And heterosexuality, homosexuality, all the things that we have in our life, they're all given as gifts, the goods and the bads. All right? We have to be custodians of these gifts. So just like a homosexual person may struggle with same-sex attraction, so too a heterosexual person, even before marriage or after marriage, just because they're married to one person doesn't mean that all of the temptations go away. So they have to be good stewards of that gift. That should wrap it up, guys. I hope you do well. Any questions, get a hold of me, preferably before the night before, and certainly not during activity period the day of. I want you guys to do well. Take care. God bless. Have a good weekend.